My name is Rees and I'm from the MHRA, GMP inspector by background, and I currently run a unit of GMP, GCP and pharmacovigilance inspectors, but also I'm a part of the innovation office at the MHRA. Certainly, we haven't reached a position of clarity. We have to wait for the political lead on that, and at the moment MHRA is a part of the European network and we continue to participate. However, depending on the outcome, I'd like to think that we will be able to work closely with the EMA and we will continue to be part of the international scene. There are some opportunities. What we do see are equivalence. We have to keep equivalence with Europe and also internationally. That may be hopefully not too challenging a task. But also, if there are some things that are different, then we have the opportunity to, while maintaining the equivalence for bulk of GMP, to maybe do some things that are slightly different. That could be an advantage to the UK. Okay, so the Innovation Office is there to support each type of product area that the MHRA regulates. So any innovations in the medicinal products area, medical devices area and blood transfusion area. The OSS stands for the one-stop shop, or the Regulatory Advice Service for Regenerative Medicine, to give it its full title. And that's like a mini innovation office focused on regenerative medicines. And it's the MHRA, Human Tissues Authority, HFEA, the Health Research Authority, DEFRA, and Health and Safety, plus the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, the health technology body in the UK. So basically, because it's there to support innovation, the earlier the better. Half a sheet of notes at a concept stage is fine for an initial meeting, and then if that's all that's needed, that's fine. But generally these things form a series of meetings, and so there's a process of engagement through to then the more formal stages like scientific advice, clinical trial applications, GMP applications, GCP inspections and so on. Automation tools, automation will vary hugely from automated pipettes to fully automated equipment, Internet of Things and connectivity. So in general, we tend to see the manufacturers of the medicinal product, but we do also see, ideally in conjunction with the manufacturers of medicinal product, the providers as well. So we try and cast our net widely, so we don't exclude anybody. So we have had approaches during the meeting, and so we've given addresses out at the back end of my presentation, so people can contact us. And it doesn't really matter what the query is, we'll sort it out and decide if it's for, say, the device part of the agency, the medicines part, or both. Or potentially other regulators as well, so we'll sort that out. So I suppose the first point is that point of care manufacturer or distributed manufacturer, there are many terms. Although we're focused here on advanced therapies, this actually covers most different dosage forms in pharmaceuticals. So from gas, small molecules, so typically additive or 3D printing, and ATMP here as well. So there's no difference really between ATMP and the other dosage forms. These are generally globalized industry, and so you have supply, whether it's of the starting materials going perhaps from Europe to the US, and then the finished product coming back, maybe for local finishing. It's no different. And so I think what happens for regulators, as for other pharma, everybody has to work on the same level as we can, a playing field, so that there's certainty across national boundaries. I think with all of this, the GMP principles are enduring. What they look like will be different in practice, whether all the manufacturing is at the clinical point of care, or whether it's local finishing in some way, or supplied from a hub. And so those principles for data integrity that we've got a blog on the MHRA website still need to be applied. You still need to be assured that that data is timely, it's accurate, it's complete, and so on. And that is really important, because you will have generally very little time to certify and release your products. So you need to make sure that you've got a complete set of data so that you can make that decision quickly. I think this is another part of distributed manufacture, that actually the start of the manufacturing may actually happen at the hospital. It then goes to a centralised factory for the bulk of the manufacturing, then it comes back again either for administration or some local finishing. With some of these, in an extreme case, you may have immune ablation of the patient, and so there's no turning back from that point. That patient will need that product. So part of the GMP control is to assure that that product will be available for that patient, because they're now totally susceptible. You can't go back and make another batch. So that's not so much a data flow, but now a product flow and an assurance of supply. And that's a complicating aspect of the range of scenarios we see with advanced therapies. I think that's what we look for when we do inspections, is that whole supply chain. That takes on a different and much more, a greater significance. If you've lost a batch of API, temperature excursions or whatever, I wouldn't say that's fine, there's a cost, but you can replace that. If your API, in this case your cell starting material, has been lost or damaged in some way, you can't replace that. So what we'll be looking for is a supply chain control. It'll look different to classic pharmaceuticals, but that assurance is vitally important. And we'll be looking that companies have thought about that, have got controls and contingencies, perhaps track and trace, so that you know exactly where everything is, so that the people who are manufacturing that starting material know it's coming, are ready for it. And similarly, the supply back to the clinical interface is well controlled as well. I think point of care or distributed manufacturing is part of a wider change in pharmaceuticals. So we see this with different dosage forms. So here we're focused on advanced therapy, but you see it with gas, you see it with small molecule, you see it with blood products. So it's all point of care. I think what's different here is that the products and the treatment protocols have got attributes of pharmaceuticals, transfusion, transplant, potentially vascularized organs and devices. And what we have in the UK, there's the Advanced Therapy Treatment Centre network being established. I think that's a key part in this, is establishing that network so that supply chain is assured.